Okay. Okay, welcome to the September meeting of Joining Forces for Treasure Valley Veterans. I'm Mitzi Sheldon, and today we are at the Lighthouse Rescue Mission in Nampa, and I am excited that we are here today. The downside is the reason we are able to be here today is the Lighthouse is closed to guests just because of staffing and things like that, but it is going to give us a chance to see the facilities and things. And to begin with, I would like to introduce Reverend Bill Roscoe. He is the director of the Boise Rescue Mission. They also have the Lighthouse, and I'm going to ask him to say a few things. Bill was one of the original members of Joining Forces for Treasure Valley Veterans, and so he's been with us since 2009. And Bill, do you want to say a few things?
Well, I want to say good morning, and I want to say thank you to everyone online and to all of you who are here this morning at the Lighthouse Mission with us for this meeting. And I want to say thank you especially to Mitzi for running the show here for all these years. And I do remember that first meeting with Chief Masterson, and there were 7 or 8 or 10 of us around a table, and now here we are 11, 12 years later with a really great group of people, all serving veterans in some capacity. And as Mitzi and I were talking this morning, I think it's really true that there isn't a need that a veteran would have in this Treasure Valley that can't be met through the resources that are available here in the Treasure Valley through this group and then through the other great resources that we have here, especially with the Boise VA and the Med Center and all the good work that goes on over there. So I just appreciate everybody taking the time this morning who could be here, and those of you online. And usually if I'm in this meeting anymore, I'm sitting home in front of my computer, and you know, with age comes slowing down kind of thing. But thanks very, very much, all of you, and all of you. Thank you very, very much for all that you do for veterans. And I'm really, really pleased to have Keith Miller on our team now, coordinating our efforts for veterans. And I'll just say again, and Mitzi knows this, that if any of you have needs for veterans and you need a resource, never, ever hesitate to call us, because if we can't help, we will help. And we've been blessed with a lot of resources, as you know, and we're really happy to share those with all the veterans in our valley and with you who serve veterans. So thanks very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Each year, the proceeds for the Friday night Caldwell Night Rodeo, it's Patriot Night, they go to the Patriot Fund, and the Boise Rescue Mission administers that. And so it's not just for homeless veterans, it's for veterans in need. And they are one of the resources that I call upon a lot of times when I have some of those emails, call for help that goes out. And so I really appreciate Bill and his staff. I'm going to introduce Keith Miller next. He is the Veterans Outreach person at the Boise Rescue Mission, and I'm going to let him tell you a little bit about what they do specifically for veterans and then some of the resources that they have available. Keith?
Thank you, Mitzi. Welcome to those in camera land. How are you today? I'm glad to be here and working with Joining Forces and Reverend Roscoe. Some statistics that we have currently at the Boise Rescue Mission. We're working with currently 38 veterans right now, and I have a floor up there, and that's how many people I've got. Most of them are up on that 3rd floor. That's 22% of our homeless men in our shelter right now are veterans. So it's a big concern for us, and we work with them. Just some interesting statistics. The average age right now is 57 years old. My oldest one is 82. And my youngest is 28. So there are different needs between jobs and trying to find them a good housing situation for long-term care or whatever. And it's a struggle every day to try to find something for them. And everybody's looking. Right now, our average stay is about 158 days. So that's just something that we got to keep working on, and some of them have been there longer, and it's just a real thing. I'd like to highlight one story that I really like. Is a current guest on my floor. A couple people on camera know him. His name is Donnie. He's part of the Veterans Treatment Court that goes through Ada County, and I'm thankful for all the people that work with Veterans Treatment Court. That's a great program. It's very strenuous, but Donnie's doing a great job. He just graduated this spring with a bachelor's degree in information technology from DeVry, and his attitude is changing. He's got a plan to go forward when he graduates. He's going to move back to California where his family is and where his children are. Children or child, I don't remember, his daughter, that's what it is. He wants to go back and be part of her life. And so I don't remember all the circumstance why he moved to Idaho, but he's got a plan, he's going forward. And I think the biggest thing we do with my job can boil down to one little idea, is we change the momentum in someone's life. When they come to the Boise Rescue Mission, they seem to be back on their heels. They're feeling beat down, defeated. And it's kind of like playing sports. When your teammates do something that rolls you up on your toes, you're starting to lean forward, you're moving forward. I give them a little win, and sometimes they take that little win and they run with it. And it's amazing to see. So I'm thankful to work for the job I have. And that's all I have. Thanks, Mitzi.
What is if somebody comes into the Boise Rescue Mission as homeless, how do you identify them as a veteran, and what is the intake process?
So most of the time, I mean, that's part of the intake process, is they're asked that specific question, and our case managers downstairs will either send me a specific email, or in their pass down that they tell all the new people that have come in an email, and they'll highlight, hey, this guy's a vet, and then I'm able to talk to them and see what their needs are, where they're going, and see if they're, try to see if they're a good fit to get up in the third to work with. Some of them are passing through, or they just need a place to stay. Some are they don't know what they want. So, but some of them, yeah, I have a plan, I'm moving forward. I just use a couple nice wins, give me some guidance, and we're like, yeah, we can show you through contacts that I've made through joining forces and other things. I use other people's resources. I don't have to know everything. So
right. And what are the qualifications to make it to the third floor?
It's just mostly just make sure they can, if they've served. It doesn't matter what kind of discharge, because they served for one time. They signed their name, they said that they would give their life to the country, and that's enough for me. That's enough for Reverend Bill. That's enough for everybody. Hey, we signed on a dotted line saying we do this for our country. And some of those guys are up there on the third floor. They're just, you never know. I mean, you're someone on their left, someone on the right may have lost their lives when they were deployed. And having that security, having them given them that base security, be able to work on other things because they have that security, they know they're safe. And to get, that's what we do.
Sounds great. Anybody else have any questions for Keith and the services at the Boise Rescue Mission? Room or online? Okay, thank you very much. The great thing about our network, not just joining forces, but just Idaho in general, is, especially with the homeless veterans outreach, is all of our organizations work together. And I think to a degree they were working together before joining forces. That bond has just been strengthened since then. Next, I would like to introduce Chris Yonke. She is with the, I call it the Boise VA homeless team. I think that they probably have another title, but I'll let her talk about that. This is Chris.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. So I'm Chris Yonke, and I do outreach for the Boise VA Healthcare for Homeless Veterans program. And I work alongside Brian Bumgarner. I don't know if he's online this morning, but we do outreach and try to engage our homeless veterans at risk of being homeless, people that are potentially going to be displaced because of the high increase in rent. Seeing a lot of that, a lot of gentrification, so people are being asked to move out of a place where they've rented maybe for 10 years and they live on a fixed income. So we try to engage them and get them into a program, whether it's the HUD BASH program, which is the Section 8 housing program, where it's income based and it is essentially trying to get them into the Section 8 housing so they can pay 30% of their gross income towards the rent. We try to also help veterans get income. So we have an employment specialist that helps them to find employment. We also do case management to help them with just life skills, helping them to find resources, whether it's getting into programs such as substance abuse programs, perhaps mental health. Some people have legal issues. We try to do a wraparound service just to help our veterans find housing, try to get them more stable and self-sufficient. That's kind of the goal of the program. We do a lot of collaboration with other agencies, community agencies, the Rescue Mission. I work a lot with people. It's been great. This organization, Joining Forces, we've been forced to think outside the box because sometimes people are falling through the cracks. Maybe they don't actually meet the criteria by the book. And so we, through Joining Forces or just other agencies, try to come up with and do a lot of problem solving. I do a lot of outreach. I'm trying to do more in King County because I found out there's veterans here maybe living under a bridge or Idaho veteran gardens. So I've been trying to, do outreach to find those folks. So, what else can I tell you?
What is the criteria if they're going to use your program? I know a lot of times I'll send people over there and for lack of a better word, they're not homeless enough to access your services.
That's where that falling through the cracks. So for example, for the HUD BASH program, which is the Section 8 housing program, you have to be literally homeless to be at the shelter or based on that. Couch surfing, that less like you're in a family with children. So we have to kind of go by the so and then below the median that varies per person gross criteria is a need for case management. So just helping folks with life skills, budgeting, finding resources, engaging mental health treatment, substance abuse treatment, those kinds of. And that's just one of that's our main basic housing program. Then we also have other programs like shared housing, transitional housing for folks who are substance abuse program called Grant Per Diem. That's a house now. It's called Rockville House. I don't know if we have any. That shared house. So we're Friday, get back on their feet, employment, go to school. So.
Now, do they have to have an honorable discharge to use your program, or do you work dishonorable?
Not anymore. It used to be that you had to have like a certain time in service to be honorable. Now they changed that just recently to other. Even if they don't qualify for VA healthcare, they can still possibly get into the program. Of course, all that being said, we look at things like past evictions, past debt, felonies, get all the barriers and try to help them to overcome issues so that they can get housing. Yes, we try to be inclusive now,
Okay,
more than before.
great. Does anybody in the room have any questions for Chris? Andrea?
Chris, what's the situation in vacancies? In other words, how many openings are there that you know of? No.
I don't know, but I don't think we have.
That's what I've been hearing that there aren't any.
Yeah, it's really difficult right now. We have what's called an interest list. So we have people on the interest list. We also provide headmaster program phone calls. We have a case manager. It's kind of rough right now. People, renting maybe a room for a house, and now the landlord wants to sell the house. Those folks are reading this place. It's been challenging.
Our vouchers, I realize if somebody has a voucher, that doesn't necessarily mean that they have a place to live.
Correct. So you get a voucher, and then the hard part starts finding someone that will sit in the section in the house. So it's not just a shoe in where you just get a free apartment. You know,
Well, except at the restaurant. Free is our middle name.
Yeah, that is true.
Does anybody online have any questions for Chris? Ready? Hey, thank you very much. Oh, Jim, you have a question?
Yes.
I'll get the information for Brian and Chris out with their contact information. Again, the great thing is if you contact Chris, she's going to reach out to the rescue mission. She's going to reach out to some of these other resources that we're going to speak with this morning, and vice versa. So it's kind of a one-stop shop. If you reached out to one of them, they're going to check with the others. So, okay, next I'm going to call on Sarah Busick from the Catch program, and she is online. There's
Hi. Can everybody in the back of the room hear me? Can you give me a thumbs up if you can hear me, Chris? You're like in the very back. Awesome. So unfortunately, my camera for some reason does not work with Microsoft Teams, so you are not able to see my wonderful, happy, shining face this morning, and I apologize for that. But I thought it was really important to come onto the call today because as Chris kind of mentioned, and as Keith has kind of mentioned through just how long the average stay is at the mission right now for his veterans, and as we all know, those of us that are working with clients, like the housing market is really tough out there right now. So I just wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about our program and some new things we rolled out, and one exciting thing that I want to share with you guys. So my name is Sarah Busick, and I am the program director for Ada County's coordinated entry program, Our Path Home Connect. What we do is we work with people who are living on the streets or in the shelter. We sit down with them and do a housing assessment and try and help them resolve that housing crisis as quickly as possible. One of the things that we do is we put them on a wait list for various housing programs. One of those programs that some of our veterans use, and then just some of our folks just out in the community, is called permanent supportive housing, and this is a voucher-based program that provides support in the form of case management for the entire time you have that voucher. So this is going to be appropriate for people who have maybe a disabling condition, a mental illness, and have been experiencing what we define in the homeless world as chronic homelessness. So they have been homeless a very long time. So that's one of our programs. The wait list for that program is very, very long. So the other service we have is called Rapid Resolution. We have a program where we have a housing navigator who can meet with anyone who's making any sort of sustainable income and sits down with them to help come up with some creative housing solutions. Some of these housing solutions in the past have looked like, just a room for rent. We're getting a lot of those right now. And the cool part about that, that's attached to that housing navigation is that we have funds for first month's rent and deposit. So we can help people we can help them find a place, and then we can help them get into a place. The cool part about that funding is that we're able to be quite flexible. So we're able to do things we haven't been able to do in the past, such as help people get into like an assisted living facility. A lot of our elderly folks, I think the biggest tragedy right now with the housing crisis is the number of elderly folks has increased in our population tremendously. So and they're not just 62 years old, like Keith was saying, like they're 77s, they're in their 70s and 80s. And so that number has gone from 16%. So in 2019, 16% of our homeless population was elderly, that 62 plus. Now it is up to 23%. So we went from one in 5 to about 1 in 4. So it's really concerning. So those guys really struggle to navigate the housing market. And so we have that housing navigator that can help potentially even get them into an assisted living facility type of situation if that's what's needed. The other thing is that we've had to be really flexible with location. And so our first month's rent and deposit assistance, we have been helping people move to places like Mountain Home, Parma, Payette, Fruitland. We even moved a guy into assisted living in Glens Ferry. So we're having to get more creative. Now, one of the new programs that we recently rolled out is called the Housing Crisis Hotline. So what this has done is it eliminates kind of the need for every single provider, every single person that's serving someone to know all of the resources regarding homelessness, because they change a lot, right? Like anytime we get some new funding, they're going to change. So if you as a service provider or someone who's working directly with someone who's experiencing homelessness or having any sort of housing insecurity, you guys can call the Housing Crisis Hotline or have them call the Housing Crisis Hotline, and we can direct them to the most appropriate place based on what their situation is. For example, there are multiple places right now or multiple resources right now to help with homeless prevention. And it really depends on kind of the bucket that you fall in that would determine which of those resources would be most appropriate for you. And so my team is able to determine that and get them to the most appropriate place as quickly as possible. So I'm going to say that phone number. So everybody get ready to write it down. It's 208-336-4663. The other cool part is that my triage receptionist is a previous domestic violence case manager. So she's very accustomed to working with people who are experiencing a crisis, which most of our clients are when they find themselves in a state of homelessness. And then I have another specialist who's an LMSW who is able to work with highly complicated situations. So, as those of you that are working in homelessness know that every single person's story is different and unique and typically very complicated. And I've got someone who can really sit down and focus on them and help them come up with some creative solutions. So we launched that on July 1st. And in August, we took 1,265 calls to that hotline. So it's doing well, and I want you guys to use it if you have a need for it. Okay, last thing. Sorry, I'm running through these. I've got a kiddo to take to school here in about 10 minutes. So the third thing I have, and this is really important. So some of you may not know, or some of you may know, that the Boise City Ada County Housing Authorities has opened up their public housing wait list. So this is actual housing. It is a wait list, but it is actual housing. It opened up on August 27th, and it will close this month on September 30th. The eligibility criteria for getting on this wait list are 62 and over or having a disabling condition. This does not mean that someone has to be getting Social Security to prove they have a disabling condition. They just need a medical provider or a mental health provider to sign off saying that they have a disabling condition. They also need to fall under, I believe it's 80% AMI or area median income for a single individual. That's about $42,000 a year. So even if you have someone who is housed, but it's pretty unstable, like, like they're paying way too much of, way more than 50% of their income to be able to stay stably housed, you can get them on this wait list. The wait list is going to be first come, first serve. So the sooner you can get your clients on that wait list, the better. You can access that wait list or the pre-application for that wait list on the Housing Authority's website. So bcacha.org. We have taken everybody, so everyone that's come through my office, we are basically cold calling them. We prioritized our 62 plus population, so we started calling them first and got them all onto the wait list, all the ones that we could get a hold of. If you have a client who is staying at Interfaith Sanctuary, we are working with that in tandem with them, and anyone who's staying at Interfaith Sanctuary, their case managers are putting them on that list. And I think that would be something that would probably be really easy for the mission to do as well with their case management team. So again, if you've got someone who fits that criteria, I urge you to get them on that wait list. The last time the public housing wait list was open was in 2018. So it's and it's going to be open for 4 weeks. So I really want as many people as possible to get access to that benefit. So these are the apartments. So they're studios, 1 bedrooms and 2 bedrooms. So even some small families would qualify to get onto this wait list. And these are the apartments that are in Boise. They're like on 13th Street, Shoreline Plaza, Franklin Grove, Franklin Plaza, I believe. And then there's one other one that's over kind of by Albertsons. They're all like very well located, very well situated in the downtown area for ease of transportation, access to medical care, behavioral health care. Many of those apartments are actually right across the street from the Boise Rescue Mission. So if you guys are familiar with where the mission is, that whole row of apartments belongs to the Housing Authority. And these are income-based. 30% of your income goes toward your rent. Any questions?
I have a question. Is that list opening up because people are getting permanent housing and that's becoming available, or what's the reasoning behind that, or are they expanding the list?
They are not expanding. They've run through the list. I don't know what that, so folks who have been on that list are getting in. And then, other people are leaving. So yeah, so it's open because there is room in a sense.
Nice. That's really good. That statistic for the number of calls that you had to the housing hotline, that is a little frightening, over 1,200 calls in just 1 month, because that not everybody who has a need is reaching out.
Right. And we, and that was just the second month of the hotline opening. We opened it on July 1. July 1, we got 865 calls, or 845, something like that. So the need is definitely increasing. It's definitely difficult to get people housing. Yeah, it's tough out there. Everybody that's out there looking for housing is really struggling right now.
Does anybody online have any questions for Sarah? I'm having a hard time seeing the chat because it's very small, so just speak up if you have a question. Anybody in the room have a question for Sarah?
Susan, you have all of this information on the information you sent to us, the staff and stuff, and how we get.
Yeah, I may not have all the staff, but I'll let them have all the contact information for you to reach out to the people we've talked to today. Okay, anybody else? Okay, next I'm going to call on Madison from LADA Community Action Partnership. Are you on with us today, Madison? Is anybody here from Elida? Okay. Chris, I'm going to kind of ask you, can you speak a little bit about the supportive housing grant that Elida administers?
Sure.
I'll have Chris come back up here and talk a little bit about the supportive housing grant that Elida administers, and they are the ones that do it for this region.
Yeah, so the Boise VA homeless program, along with Keith Miller at the Rescue Mission, we work a lot with LADA. We refer to their program, which is rapid rehousing, or it's also called SSVF, Supportive Services for Veterans and Families, which it can be a single person also. And that program finds housing for veterans who are literally homeless again, underneath that median income. And then that program is temporary, so it's shorter in duration, not permanent. And so for folks that are trying to get back on their feet, find employment, get treatment or whatever, they house them for, I believe it's 3 to 6 to 9 months, roughly. And so, and they also provide some case management, helping with rental deposits, things like that. They also have, I know they have like a budgeting class, which that's a thing that.
That's huge.
That's huge.
A lot of times the reason people got into trouble with their housing situation is because they didn't budget appropriately and weren't able to keep up on their rent and were evicted for one reason or another.
What else? We refer a lot of vets may not need that longer term housing. Maybe they just need 6 to 9 months to find employment, maybe get back on their feet, maybe they just are incarcerated or got out of treatment, and so they're kind of in transition. So that's a really good program for those folks who don't really need like permanent. I don't know why I'm going on this. I'm not even Italian.
Okay. Well, and I'll send out more information about that. But again, if you contact LADA, reaching out as a veteran to check on their services, if you don't qualify, then they're going to refer you to one of these other agencies because they work really closely together. So, let's see. Is there anybody else online that I've missed that deals with housing in their organization? Does anybody else here have any specific housing information you'd like to get out?
I have a question.
Yeah.
A long time ago in our group, we were meeting at the police station. There was a group that was trying to put together a tiny home community in Caldwell. Did that ever get off the ground?
No, and I'm going to cold call Mindy Anderson here to come up and maybe speak to that a little bit, but also what the Idaho Veterans Chamber of Commerce does with housing and their housing pillar. You're going to come over here.
I can make some of the.
Yeah, so we have a lot of different things happening within our housing pillar within the Idaho Veterans Chamber of Commerce. So we are working on getting ready to launch a capital campaign in January for a tiny homes project in the state of Idaho. We don't know where it's going to go. We don't have any details. We just know that we've done enough discussions with Boise Rescue Mission and talked about how can we create a tiny homes community that are really growing across the country fast and rapidly, and Keith and I have had conversations about how can we create that space for people to like graduate from programs, right? Graduate from here to maybe apartment living to save up money to then actually moving into a tiny home and then buying a house, right? Creating like this program of how do we successfully navigate people And we had a realtor that actually had a veteran who was working with for several years and finally lived out his dream of getting his own home. He had this story of he came from homelessness to, slowly moving up, and he's 65 years old and he bought his own home. So that's just something that we were looking at doing and bringing the Tiny Homes Community Project to Idaho, because we don't have one. We're also working with Valor Point, and we're working with Northwest Capital with Noel Gill, and talking about what's the next big project for apartment housing that they have specifically, like they do with Valor Point. And then also trying to work with them on figuring out how can we create some space for life skills to come in like they do with Valor Point, and maybe include some more amenities there at the next housing project that they'll do. So those are just two of the things in the housing area. And then as far as just helping people with getting their homes fixed and maintenance done. I know things are so expensive right now here in Idaho, and so even the certificates that the VA gives for an elderly person to turn their bathroom into a bath into a shower, the certificates aren't going to cover a lot of these things. And so we're working with Home Depot, and we're working with getting some funds that we can then start helping to support and offset the costs with the VA certificates of eligibility and funding that they give for the home repairs or whatever needs to happen for our veterans in the community. And then maybe some landscaping stuff, and we have one veteran that has a roof leak, and his actual, like the top of his mobile home is coming away from his roof, and then it's creating a leak, and now it's creating mold in the window, and it's just creating all these problems. And it's like one small leak that we could have fixed that would have avoided all of these problems that he's now having on the side of his mobile home. So those are some of the smaller projects that we're looking at doing. And our housing committee is growing, and we've got more people that are joining, and we'll be really formalizing a lot of what we're going to be doing in the next year at our first meeting in October. So that's an update from the housing committee.
Okay, sounds great. I'm very excited that Mindy's taking on a lot of this. As she mentioned, I think one of the most frequent calls that I get are seniors that live in a mobile home park, have lived there 10, 15, 20 years, and their management is getting nitpicky, for lack of a better word, about their mobile home, the condition of it, the landscaping, things like that. Part of this is because these mobile home parks are land that developers are looking at. You can't evict people off of, their rented property, but if there are reasons to evict them, then, they're going to find those. So again, I had a veteran just recently that he came into our office, and he was looking to increase his benefits. After speaking to him, he had an eviction notice for his spot that he has a 40-year-old mobile home sitting on, because he'd been caring for his mother and hadn't had time to, keep it up and things like that. And I sent out an email, one of those, and we had a whole team of people go out and clean up the outside of his property. For the first time, his neighbors started speaking to him, because his place wasn't a disaster. They had kind of been standoffish up to that point. And so he's really developed a community. And in doing that, we found that there were several problems inside the home that needed attention. And we were able to get those fixed also. And that was just a joining forces thing. So the housing situation ranges from people sleeping underneath the bridge in Caldwell to people that currently have a home but are afraid of losing it because they cannot meet the standards of their, HOA, for lack of a better word. And the other situation that we see frequently, I'm seeing it more and more, are people that have rented a home, an actual house, for 10, 15 years, and their landlord has decided to sell the property, to, cash in on that. And the new buyer wants to either, level the house and build something else, or has other plans for it. And those people are given 30 days and they're out. So lots of different situations. Along those lines, I want to have a discussion here, and please, 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 I would like everyone's feedback. I contacted all of these organizations that we had as guests today, the homeless team at the VA, the Boise Rescue Mission, the Catch Program, LADA, and I refer people out to them. They, contact me with situations from time to time, but each one of them have a list of veterans that are looking for housing and things. And that's great. They're getting the services they need, but again, there's a lack of actual housing. And what I have found through joining forces is a lot of times when I send an email out and I described the situation and a little bit about the veteran, maybe they are a Vietnam veteran who received a Purple Heart and, was in a certain line of work as a civilian all these years, that sort of thing. And I have found that really touches one or more of the 600 people I have on my email list, or as those emails are shared out in the community, and we get those situations solved. And so I was kind of also finding that I was getting more and more calls directly to Mitzi to solve these problems. And all of you know me, I hate to say no. I don't want to say no, but I can't field all of those. And I also feel that anybody who is in those situations needs to contact these other entities first and make sure that there's not an established program that can help them. But in talking to these established programs, something that I brought up and they were very receptive to is each week, if they would send me a list of the veterans that they have that need housing, and not just, I have one veteran, needs housing, that sort of thing, but a little bit about that veteran without disclosing, too much identifying information. But then I would send out an email once a week, I'm thinking probably on Wednesdays, and all of you could look at that. And I'm finding that a lot of times somebody has an extra room that they're willing to rent, or a mother-in-law suite on their property that maybe they hadn't considered renting out before. But there's a situation that, boy, there is this Vietnam veteran, he's the same age as my dad, who's not here anymore, who's passed away. And boy, I sure wish my dad was here and that he could live with us in this situation. But this veteran kind of fits the bill. And yeah, I'd be willing to open up my home for him. And then you could reach out to that organization and things. So everybody was very receptive to that, but I want to get additional feedback because I always have a lot of good ideas, but there's a lot of things I don't always think of. So what type of information would you like to see in those emails? And from this group, what are some of the downfalls? I'm always, the glass is always full. It's never half full, it's always full. But there's always some foam on the top that I don't pay attention to and don't think about. So if you could let me know what you feel maybe the downfalls to that, and other things that we could add to that.
Well, I think it would be interesting if we're going to send information to create a story about that veteran. So you create a bond with whoever's thinking about renting. So enough that there's some rapport, or some emotional attachment.
I'm thinking of including age, branch of service, if they served during a conflict, if they actually went to Vietnam, their family situation. Sometimes you've got somebody that maybe they're here and they don't have any available family. Maybe because of their family situation, their family can't take them in, that sort of thing. Sometimes, again, those connections with the story kind of hit a chord with somebody that you might be willing to offer something up that you normally wouldn't. Bill?
You want to have service animal or pet to that information as well.
What's that?
Service animal.
Oh, yes. Yeah, service animal, that's something else that we run into quite frequently. And even if somebody doesn't have a certified service animal, there are so many homeless people that they have a comfort animal. And for any of us that have had pets, that means a lot. And sometimes they're not able to get into housing or won't even consider using a shelter because they can't take their pet there. So I'll also include that if they do have service animals at all or any sort of pet. I had a guy the other day, I think Susan, it might have been something that you sent me. He had a cat, which, you know, a cat is usually, you don't run into cats as much as you do dogs. So it was very important to this young man that he be able to have his cat with him. So.
Yeah, we had one that had a pet rooster.
Oh. Okay. Susan.
The biggest reservation that I am finding, it seems like I'm running into a lot of homeless vets all of a sudden. And there are people in the community that have rooms that they would be willing to share, but it's the safety issue.
Yeah.
Is it safe to have that person in my house? So if there's some program or some screening process that the vet goes through so that whoever wants to help them feels safe having them in their home.
Well, and that's one of the reasons that I want them to go through these programs and be screened and not have me be the person saying, hey, I got this guy that you know, needs a place to stay and things, because, you know, there is a liability issue and that sort of thing. But, you know, it'd be up to the individual, you know, all those to do the contract and things like that. But I know I had a gentleman, his wife had passed away and needed to bring somebody in to live with him because he couldn't afford to continue to make his house payment if he didn't have somebody. And we were able to find him a veteran that moved in, but this veteran was going through LADA, and part of them helping with the deposit and things like that, there needed to be a written rental agreement. But LA helped with that and things, because this gentleman was like, you know, I don't know how to do that and things. So that's another thing. Anybody online have any ideas, comments?
Hi, Mitzi, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hi, this is Madison from Elita. I'm sorry if I missed you. The power actually completely went out on our street, so I lost connection.
Well, we kind of winged it. I don't know if we gave good or bad information about LADA, but I will turn it over to you and let you tell us all about your program.
Okay, thank you. Sorry to interrupt in the middle.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. So we are the supportive services, or I guess LADA has the supportive services for veteran families program. And what that is, it's we do homelessness prevention, where somebody can bring a 30-day notice, a 3-day notice, and we can assist to try to keep them in the house or identify new permanent housing. The other part of that is a rapid rehousing. So if they are literally homeless, then we can assist them into finding permanent housing as well. It is a 90-day program, so we do short-term case management throughout that and temporary financial assistance to help with application fees, security deposit, first month's rent, and then there's also a potential, like on a month-to-month basis, if they're coming to case management and they show a need, we can assist with some more rent, but there is a cap on that. Can you still hear me okay? Sorry, my connection on my phone is not good. Okay, perfect. Just want to make sure. And then if they're eligible, they can also be enrolled. We are doing some emergency housing assistance right now. So we have a connection with a hotel or two up here. If they're vulnerable to COVID, so they're older or they have some kind of illness that would, I guess, harm them if they were to get COVID and they would get severe COVID. That's an option, and I'm not sure how much longer that's going to be going on. It is coming to an end here soon, and once they give us the word, it'll be about 90 days that we'll have to get everybody out of the hotel and go back to the normal emergency housing assistance, which is 72 days. So they work on finding their housing with a housing specialist. We currently do not have one, so we are hiring for one if anybody knows anyone. So I'm kind of heading up that housing piece with my case management. And then the ones who truly do the best and really get housed the fastest are the ones that put in that work and effort and are motivated to identifying their own as well. And then I can help with signing a lease. I can do reasonable accommodations and other things like that. The last piece of that program is that we have a healthcare navigator. So she will work with the veterans if they need assistance with navigating their healthcare for medical, dental, mental health, substance use. She can do applications for Medicaid and food stamps or Medicare. She also works a little bit with Social Security, so increasing some income, and with VA benefits as well, makes appointments and goes down there. So yeah, I'll keep it short and sweet so we can keep moving on. But thanks for letting me talk.
I have a question. I know at some point, I think I had spoken to Jared, but if we have somebody, say this situation, that they have a room that they want to rent out to a veteran, can they register with you to make that available to the veterans in your program?
Yeah, absolutely. The only thing we need is a W-9. So, I mean, it can be just a person renting, like a landlord, like a private.
Okay.
And we would have them fill out that W-9 so that we can get them in our system to pay them. And we would do kind of the move-in costs and things like that. So that would be totally available.
Okay. So for individuals, established landlords that are worried about getting paid and things, this is actually a really good program because you guys make sure that they're paid and the deposit and all that is funded.
Yeah, exactly. It's a guaranteed payment. We'll get to them for sure.
Okay, sounds great. Hey, any other housing related questions or ideas? This really such a wide area, you know, like I said, we have the extreme cases where somebody is actually living on the street, maybe dealing with mental illness, to the people that had established housing, and last week they thought that was going to continue and it suddenly changed.
Is there, Bill, you may know this, is there a coalition of churches in our area that they get together and partner and do things that we could partner with? And they could put out word to their congregations that there's this huge need in our area, and they could reach out to their congregations to see if there's rooms to rent?
There's a ministerial association. I know there's one in Nampa and there's one in Boise. And years ago I was involved in that, but I'm not anymore, and so I don't have any fresh information about that. But you know, it might be worth inquiring, and I'm going to assign Keith to do that.
I saw the look, yeah.
I can interpret most.
That wasn't happening.
Oh, I know. I speak about that.
I'm going to ask Keith to look into that because that's a very good question. And I know that there has been, since COVID, there's been sort of a mobilization in the church community, the faith community, to try to work together to meet needs of people better, especially here in Nampa County, I think. So we'll look into that, and Keith will get a report back and send it to Vinci. Pass that on to everyone. It's a good idea.
It's like that would be a win-win because there's a lot of elderly people who have a space.
Yeah.
And need the help income-wise,
Yeah.
and then there's the other side of the homeless vets who are also older.
Yeah.
It seems like it would be a good match if we could partner with whatever organization there is.
I think there's good potential there. Again, I think, you know, a lot of the people are going to be of my generation probably who have the extra room. And with a lot of people, the safety issue is going to be right in the front of thinking. And everyone's heard the horror stories about trying to support tenant and not being able to do that, all of that stuff. So I think we'll look into that and see about how to screen people and get that kind of set up that if people are interested in help like that, they could have some of their peers believe and more confidence going into the opportunity. It's a great idea.
Yeah, I think that we have a lot of situations on both sides. We've got the homeless situation, but we also have the people who may own their own home. They're still making a mortgage payment, but property taxes have gone up and things like that. And suddenly, you know, they're coming up $300 short each month on, you know, their own finances and things. And this would be a good opportunity for them. So we'll see how it works. It'll probably be a few weeks before we get that up and running, and I'm sure there'll be some kinks, but we will give it a try and see if we can help get some people housed and maybe open up some other housing situations out there. So, okay, I am going to do an around the room. Half the people here have already spoken, but let them tell us a little bit about their organization. Andrea, would you like to?
Thank you, Mitzi. My name is Andrea Maynard, and I am on the board of directors of Everyone for Veterans. It is a Washington-based not-for-profit. Largely, what Everyone for Veterans does is connects combat veterans who do not have dental coverage through the VA and who are low income with dentists who are willing to provide free dental care. It's you know, appalling how many veterans, and I didn't even realize, have, you know, a lot of problems with their teeth. Secondarily, we also have a wingman program. So anything else that combat veteran may need help with, for instance, they need a new air conditioner. We will reach out to people and see if we can find a new air conditioner. Or food. You know, we partner a lot with Costco because one of the founders of Costco, Jim Sinegal, is a very, very big donor and also, you know, very, very supportive of veterans. So for instance, Costco will arrange for even Costco to donate food, or the wingman themselves will donate food, but anything else that a combat veteran may need, we will assist. Thank you, Nancy.
And in talking to Andrea, and this issue has come up since the early days of joining forces, dental care, and her organization helps combat veterans, but something else that I'm putting on my list of things to do for joining forces is I want to get a network of dentists that are willing to either yearly, quarterly, twice a year, donate dental services to veterans, and not just combat veterans. I've got a veteran that I'm dealing with right now that in order to have some other surgeries, which have been delayed because of COVID, but he needs to get his dental problems taken care of because he has a reoccurring infection that, so he can't get his knee operated on, that sort of thing. So, you know, if each dentist, and there are dentists, it seems like on every corner, it's each dentist in our community was willing to donate, you know, even just one, you know, service that they could help a veteran each year. I think that we could take care of that. I'll also be sending out today, there is a oral surgeon in town that is donating services. It's an application process, and I'll be sending that out today. So they're looking for a veteran to help with that. So, and I've already submitted my application for my veteran, but you know, they would like to have quite a few applications to look at. So, Heather, with health and welfare, do you have anything you want to update us on?
Our program has been providing local crisis services for about the last year, and that does seem to touch actually quite a few veterans out in our community. It's relegated to business hours only just because of limited staff, but we work quite a bit with local hospitals, law enforcement, shelters. As they have people discharging out of their facilities, they can reach out to us. we can help work with folks that are really struggling out there in the community and provide some support and services. So we do have that. We also do have a crisis respite bed for adolescents at Hayes House shelter. It's a resource. It's limited to 3 to 5 days for kids that are in crisis. The parent does need to sign the child into the facility, but sometimes it gives that little bit of break, and with that resource, maybe prevent a family from going into further crisis with a child that's having difficulty. For that resource, the way to access it is to contact Hayes House directly. We have one contract at Region 3, so it covers this county and 5 other counties in this area. And there's also a crisis bed for Region 4, which is Ada County and 3 other counties in that direction.
Great. I can't say enough good things about mobile crisis through health and welfare. I had a situation with somebody very close to me recently, and I just was amazed. I had worked with them through the police department, but until you're on the other side of this and see all that they're doing, can't say enough good stuff. Barb, New Horizons, do you have any updates?
Just the new VRAP program. A lot of people, we're an education center. VRAP program is a new program for veterans who have exhausted their GI Bill, but yet still need education. And so they apply through that program through the VA. And we are one of those that are able to help those. There's only a few of us in Idaho that got on the list. What we do is you do the education, but then you also make sure that they're ready for employment, and then we help them find employment. So we've got 2 or 3 starting in the program, and we're excited to help do that going forward. Just a reminder, we do have the education program for the spouses. We do a lot of their classes for free. Spouses and veterans for free. And the only thing we ask is if it's a tech class, which is a high-tech class, we do actively pay for their book, which could run $59 to $89, something like that. But that's it, off of a $3,000 class. So that's not bad.
That's not bad at all.
Yeah. And then I do want to introduce Andrea. She is new with us, but she is a new SBO. And so we're excited to have her on board, helping work with our veterans. I said, we gotta go, you gotta meet these awesome people and join forces, because it's such a great, I can help anyone. We get a lot of them that come through and they ask us questions, and I just get in contact with you guys. So I appreciate the program, so we do that.
Barb called me the other day. She had been to an event and she said, just a heads up, I gave your information out to about a dozen people, so they may be calling. I couldn't help them, but I know joining forces can. So, but that's what it's all about.
Yeah, they didn't know about the program and they were so excited, and because they have a lot of veterans come through their programs, and they had no idea about joining forces. Yeah, 4 minutes ago, really. I wish I had other cards and just have
Just for those that don't know, New Horizons, what type of programs do you have?
We do classes anyway. We're a computer learning center. And so we do teach classes if you don't know how to use like your app classes, your Microsoft, Word, Excel. We start with the basics that way, all the way up to, we have programs where they're building the computers, putting them together so that they can go work in the IT world, on the helplines, or all the way to cybersecurity. Cybersecurity is probably our biggest class that we have a lot of veterans for that, because they get out of the Air Force. So I would say Air Force people are not home. They get out of their service and they still have their security clearance. And we have 2 companies in the valley that between the 2 of them, they have over 202 DoD contracts. And they're always looking for IT people. So they come through, they get their certifications, which are industry certifications. They can go anywhere in the world with certifications to get a job. And we then send them for an interview. I can guarantee them an interview. I can't place them,
because that they have to we definitely, we send almost every single one of our veterans to one of those. They start off anywhere from $25 to $65 an hour. Wow.
The chicken seems like theirs is still good.
Okay, Stephen Hill from Team River Runner.
I'll do that until they're not, just some updates. Just recently, 3 weeks ago. Sorry. Okay, I did the lower Salmon River. It was a 6-day, 5 nights on the lower Salmon. So, something I never thought about doing. I didn't like kayak, and yes, there's a whole lot of still water. So it was a mixture of a lot of paddling or really exciting paddling. Last one, I didn't think it was going to be that bad, but actually it was. After I actually went through it, like, sure that was like flat 3. I think that was more like class 4 plus. Anyway, but we have an organization here, Boise, a very active chapter. We've been here since 2015. It's a nationwide thing. If you want to come down to our email, our website, I have an update. I have it right last time. So it's
I'll send it out on
okay.
Send it out.
But Team River Run, it's all one word, Team River Runner, Boise.org.
Okay.
So now we're getting up to the winter time, and well, season's ending. What do I do for until next spring? Well, we have pool sessions. So you can learn. Usually in the pool session, we use the hard shell kayak, but the water's more deep. You fall out, not going to go very far. So, and then the next spring, like March timeframe, we'll start to go out in Queen's Pond. We have dry suits. We have, extra. If you don't have any police jacket, I just buy the boys in the winter without a jacket. But if you need something, we've got some warm clothes you put underneath the dry suit, and we put you out on. You don't feel comfortable, and in case you don't have plastic clothes, you want to sit on top of the kayak, we have those. We have inflatable kayaks. We have hard shell kayaks. And Team River Runner provides everything for the veteran. They give you a paddle, kayaks, dry suit, helmets, everything, booties, tennis shoes. If you don't have, all I have is sandals. Well, that's your shoe. Put you in a river shoe, and even for ladies, blues, and we have that. I'll tell you, I think our biggest one was 16. So we can pretty much accommodate. So it's a really great organization, and just recently we offered swiftwater rescue. So that's a pretty interesting program. I've gone through a swiftwater rescue, and they teach you how to jump into a fast moving river to go down, rescue the down. A lot of times in the river, even Boise people float down the Boise River, they really realize they fall out of that inner tube and get their foot stuck. And now we have the force of the Boise River pushing down on them, so we want to rescue them before they recover. So even, I don't know if you saw the news, I didn't see it, but someone with the Jack was talking about it. There was a very experienced kayaker coming through the confluence of kayak rivers, and he fell off and fell out of time. So we really got to put that fell out, hoping that the rescue recover. Anyway,
Team River Runner, they'll have activities through the winter, and if you like water sports at all, and it can be an expensive thing, join up with them, because they allow families to come out, spouses. It's just a great program. So Let's see, Dan, Ashley, I'm gonna call on you right quick. You wrote a nice thing in the comments there, but it's always good to hear your voice, and just tell us about what's going on at Elevate tomorrow.
All right, yeah, you know, Mitzi, I've always got something to share. So, just two quick items. Elevate in Nampa will be presenting an event for our first responders, military veterans, in recognition of 9/11. So on Saturday, they will have 5 local mayors there, as well as speakers to address the people in attendance about the therapies offered at Elevate that are free on the 11th of each month for them to come in and try a service. Their float tanks, red light therapy, Himalayan salt room, massage chairs, just a lot of different things that can really help somebody kind of de-escalate the stress that's going on with their life. And some of those items are also used to treat PTSD. Also, on October 29th, the Vet Center will be holding a Halloween walkthrough event. So if you are an agency that would like to set up a booth for your agency, or just come out and hand out candy with us, you're welcome to do that. We'll accept donations as well. But it went off really well last year, and we'd like to make it even bigger. And we'll keep social distancing and all that stuff in effect. But we would like to do that on the 29th from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. That's all I have.
Sounds great. I'll just throw out a couple other things. Tomorrow, September 10th at Sensi, they're having their annual Rockathon. They will have rocking chairs lined up on Eagle Road. And if they have volunteers to sit in the chairs and keep them rocking from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. tomorrow, they will donate $40,000 to their cause this year, which just happens to be the Boise Rescue Mission. So if you haven't done that, they still have some spots up. If you just Google Sensi Rockathon, I will be out there with my grandchildren on Eagle Road, rocking in the rocking chairs from 5 to 6 p.m. So even if you drive by, wave and we'll holler at you, but it's a really fun event to come out, and then they'll have fireworks tomorrow evening at Sensi. And then Saturday is the 20th anniversary of September 11th. I think all of us remember where we were that day when we heard the news and how things unfolded. And, you know, just remember our veterans that day. There are lots of different events going on. Get out and participate in something. You know, thank our veterans for their service. And, you know, don't forget the people that have sacrificed, both the families of veterans and the veterans themselves, and the people still serving that are still serving. Okay. We will meet next month. Next month's meeting is going to be completely virtual. We won't have an in-location meeting. I am going to be on the road, so we will do it all virtually next month, and I look forward to seeing you then. Thanks for joining us. Thank you, everybody, for coming today. Thank you.